Last week, I quit my job at Apple as a design fusionist to become an entrepreneur. So I'm pretty sure you know what is an entrepreneur. But you ask yourself, what the heck is a design fusionist? So I mix business, storytelling, design, engineering, and psychology to solve any customer or business issues. And most of the time I do that through stories. So why stories? Because everybody loves stories. And from the beginning of the humankind, it's the strongest way to share a message. So today I have like 7 tips, 7 stories to help you make a better product. And here are they. And that's it, voila. Bye, thank you, just done. No, more seriously, on the right-hand side, top right-hand side, this little icon is for you guys. It's the takeaway, and it's the most relevant slide in my keynote. So let's start. Rule number 1, story number 1. People don't know what they want until you show it to them. And when I joined Apple a few years ago, I was really, really surprised by that. They don't rely on any market research at all. No market research. And when you come from Orange, who was really, really in the research stuff, I was really surprised. And here is why. Normalement, il y a une vidéo.
An iPod, a phone, and an internet communicator. An iPod, a phone. Are you getting it? These are not 3 separate devices. This is one device. And we are calling it iPhone. Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone. And here it is.
So some people remember this keynote, but rarely this image. And that's exactly what you have when you ask people, hey, could you design me a phone? I'm not saying that you shouldn't do user test or market research, card sorting, stuff like that. No. What I'm saying is, as a storyteller, the first thing I have to do is to write the story and share it with you. And then my advice here is listen carefully when you launch a product, the reviews, the way the people interact with your product. That is the secret, not the pre-version, but the release version. Rule number 2, surprise people with better products. And I'll show you a video from Dieter Rams later in my keynote. But I love this guy because he said one day, we have enough things. We have to create better products. And when I said better products, definitely not that, like that. Pourquoi? On va y arriver. That is the kind of product that really, really, really is awful. I don't know who designed that, but I'm pretty sure we should fire him. And I have a little story from Apple that I really love to tell. So, who has an iPhone, please? Raise your hand. Cool. That's for you, Mr. Google. And who kept the box? Yeah, quite a lot of people. So we have, at Apple, they have designer for everything. The little pill of the iPod, or even the box. And what is interesting is when they started to make the first box years ago, the team behind that craft spent a lot of time designing 2 prototypes. The first one was a really, really beautiful edge-to-edge beautiful box. On the other hand, it was a simpler box. So when the lead designer came to Steve Jobs and said, hey, here are my 2 prototypes, which one you prefer? Steve answered, I prefer the simpler one. So imagine the frustration of this guy working like hell to create those beautiful piece of packaging. And he was courageous enough to ask why. Usually you never asked anything to Steve Jobs. And what was fantastic is the Steve Jobs answer. He said, I sell phones, no boxes. But now, if you want, you can work on the opening. So basically, they worked to make it happen in 7 seconds. So why 7 seconds? Because it's the right balance between pleasure and frustration. And where they did a very good product is when you open the box, the phone is already charged. And if you think about that time, I had like a Nokia or a Windows phone, and you had to plug them during the whole night to use them. With that, you open the box and you play directly with it. So it's why I think it's a very good product for that, this little idea. Rule number 3, simplify them. The brain can deal with a lot of complexity. For example, I live in London. When I walk in the street, some people, there's a lot of people, the car drive on the left-hand side, quite bizarre, and a lot of bikes, a lot of people. The brain can deal perfectly with that. Where the brain is completely freezing is when you do ambiguity. And by ambiguity is something like, let me show you an example, quite a famous 30 years of scroll bar that I tweak a little bit. So in 1981, yeah, that's big, cool. It started with Xerox Star. Probably you can see that there's 2 arrows, a minus and a plus. So it's a tool, it's great. But 3 years later, Macintosh launched their OS, and it's simpler. And it's probably still useful, but you don't need the minus and the plus. They changed it. A year later, of course, Windows copied the Macintosh and painted it in red. Is it simpler? I'm not sure. Time flies, and in 2013, when they redesigned their macOS and iOS 7, guess what? No more scroll bar until you touch the phone or you touch your mouse. Why that? Because people want to focus on the content, not on the Chrome, not on the UI. Here's my side project. I'm on Safari. If I scroll, the top bar reduced, the bottom bar vanished. If you do an app, think about that. Make the content shine, not the UI. I'm unlucky today. Simplicity, to quote Steve Jobs, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. It's a lot of work, it takes a lot of time, but the reward is fantastic. So this is the little icon, the recap of my business value. People don't know what they want until you show it to them. Surprise them with better product, and please, please, please simplify them. Rule number 4, make them work. So I'm old enough to have almost tried everything, like you guys most of the time. So a walkie-talkie when I was a kid, an alarm clock, a radio. So I want to make a test with you. Can you do a gesture I give you a call, I call you back? You know, the gesture? Yes, that one, yes. So it comes from the landline, of course. So now ask my son, 2 years old, hey, shall we call grandma? And he will run through the living room, open my Mac, wait for Skype. But if I insist, and I ask him, no, let's call grandma. Here's what he do. I make a call. That's a call. It reminds me something like that. Anyway, and that's, I have a problem with the clicker. Anyway, that's is reference. We come from the left-hand side references, and today this is the reference. So whatever you do, it has to work on the phone first. Rule number 5, it's easy to use. I spend a lot of time trying to help people to make product easier to use. And here's an example of someone I spotted in San Francisco. So he's trying to pay at a park meter. And the park meter itself works pretty well. But the problem is the sun. So I don't understand why the designers forgot about that. This is California. It's super shiny, like there's a lot of sun. So this guy is trying to pay like that. How about this one? And I think I have a, look at that. Here, they put a smiley to make your life better. Come on. I'm so happy we don't have a fax anymore. How about that? It's the thing I hate the most. Why you need a pair of scissors or a sharp knife to open a stupid bulb light packaging? I don't understand. And the problem with that is you generate a very, very bad emotion. She's frustrated, she hates that. And I'll show you why it's so important later. So please make the things easy to use. The stress to be a speaker. Rule number 6, play with emotions. Because of this frustration, you generate a bad emotion. But our job, basically, if you hire me and if you ask me what I do, is I move the mood of a user from frustration to satisfaction. If you're very, very lucky and you have a brilliant team, sometimes you move that from frustrated to delighted. And that's complex to achieve. But you have to entertain people, like with your homepage, your icon, your first impression. So to talk about emotions and entertainment, let me show you this short video from the master, Mr. Chaplin. Unfortunately, we don't have time to see the happy ending, but I just did a test on you. So basically, I moved your mood from, let's say, bored. This is the pitch. Chaplin is entering in the lion cage. All right, that's great. But then I heard some reaction in the audience. When you see himself, you see him locking the door. And that's where our job is, to interest you. But then you become very interested when he's facing the tiger and he has no chance to escape. So basically, your job and our job is to move the mood of the user within 7 seconds. And you remember the 7-second trick. If you don't have time and you don't have the luxury to do that in 7 seconds, at least make your first impression really important. Let me show you an example from, Putain de l'horreur. Ok, ça arrive là. Elle est super sensible, cette petite télécommande. So, the guy who designed that, come to talk to me. Okay. Okay. Yes. 7 seconds. Cool. Okay. Now I click. Yes. Airbnb. I love what they did on their homepage. They choose to show 2 photos, a Portland photo and a Los Angeles photo, instead of using the, I don't know, the UI or the way you use the interface. And that instantly gave me, I don't know, a pleasure. Like, wow, I love the photo, especially with the fireworks. And that's a tone of voice. If you look at, if you remember the redesign of their website, there's a video behind the homepage, the search box. There's an intention behind, and that's beautiful. So be careful of your first impression. Okay, little recap. It works, it's easy to use, and you deal with emotion, positive emotions. So why it's so important, and I do workshop this afternoon about emotions and the way you have to deal with them, because emotions create memories. And that's very important, because if you create memories, you transform your customers into true fans. And it's what we all want, have true fans. They will recommend the product. You saw a presentation from Google. They have a fantastic quote. They said, if the product is good, you don't need a salesman. And that's brilliant, because people love your product. You kept the box. Incredible. It's just a paper box, And I give you a little trick, my last trick, and that is quite nice to do. Basically, people will remember 10% of what they hear, 20% of what they read. Basically, you will forget everything from my keynote. Luckily, I'm on YouTube later. But at the moment they interact with your product, they will remember 80%. So there's a little trick in the most of the retail stores. Those beautiful Mac. They have the screen a little bit like that. I'm facing the Mac. And what do? You arrive and you touch them. And because you touch them, you will remember the experience. So one of my advice for people who make apps or prototypes, as soon as you can, make a prototype, put it on the phone, give it to the people. At the second they will touch it, they will remember the experience. I have another quote about that. You remember your first kiss? Yeah, probably. And that's exactly the first time you interact with someone. That's very emotional, and that will create a fantastic memory. So whatever you do, try to generate beautiful memories. So I have a last video, and it's about my mentor, Dieter Rams, who influenced a bunch of designers. And what he's saying is quite fantastic. I like him. So that's my recap, and that's the video.
We have enough things. We can improve some things, but it's not spectacular. To improve a television or a computer, to make it more self-explanatory, to make it more usable. It's always a very important thing, but it's not a spectacular thing. And maybe I have to learn a little bit that not the spectacular things are the important things, the unspectacular things are the important things, especially in the future.
I really love this little gesture. Reminds me of my grandpa. Yeah, you have to listen to me. Thank you very much. I'm on Twitter, and I'm very happy to have presented this chaotic keynote today. Thanks. Bye.